I pledge to every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans, and this is so important to me. For those who have chosen not to support me in the past, of which there were a few people, I'm reaching out to you for your guidance and your help so that we can work together and unify our great country.
Welcome back to The World Over. The 2016 race for the presidency concluded this week as Donald J. Trump shocked pollsters and pundits and world markets by winning the highest office in the land. His largely unanticipated defeat of Democrat Hillary Clinton will transform politics and life in Washington, D.C., and far beyond. Joining me with analysis of this historic campaign and the candidate, I'm joined now by Fox News contributor Mercedes Schlapp. Mercedes, thank you for staying awake through all of this. People don't realize, we were on the night, watch, doing the entire, watching this thing unfold, and
I think we might have slept 1 hour. I think that's where we are right now.
I got an hour and a half in.
Oh, good, there you go.
But my mouth got no sleep. So let's talk for a moment about this call for unity. He says he wants to bring Americans together. He wants to unify the country. Is it possible, given the hostility that we are already seeing from the media, some columnists, both from Republicans and Democrats?
I think that it is possible. I think that this is what is the beauty of American democracy, which is this smooth transition from one presidency to the next. Mm-hmm. And I think for Donald Trump, we saw, for example, that Jeb Bush came out, President George W. Bush, Romney, Romney, who was one of his biggest critics, basically congratulating Donald Trump. And I think for the Democrats, they're going to need some space and some time to really absorb this shock. Clearly they thought Hillary Clinton was going to win, and all of a sudden we see in the news and we see how this whole election has played out, and it was Donald Trump. So I think for the Democrats, it might take them a little longer to get there, but we did see leadership from Hillary Clinton saying he deserves a chance to lead.
Let's talk about the media for a moment. The polls were drastically off. Every pundit, by and large, were drastically off. What did they miss?
They missed that silent Trump voter. They missed the first-time voter, because most of these polls are based on likely voters that have been, voting for the past 3 or 4, 5 presidential elections. These were individuals who, for the first time, decided, I am going to vote for this man. The enthusiasm was so great, whether it was from independents, whether it was from Catholics, evangelical Christians who came out in tremendous numbers for Donald Trump. There was really this show of force for Donald Trump in the election.
You see, I attended, as I do every season, I try to go to rallies for each candidate. I remember years ago seeing John McCain and Barack Obama in the same hotel, on two sides of a hotel. Well, one was like you walked into a deep freeze. The other was this explosive volcanic force of Barack Obama, and you knew when you walked in something was happening. I have to say, I attended a Hillary Clinton rally in Florida, and then just this past weekend, I went to Leesburg, Virginia, 12,000 people outside in the cold, carrying children in wheelchairs. 3,000 could fit in.
Miles to walk inside.
2 miles to walk up a dark, one-lane highway. They stayed there for 12 hours to wait for him. He didn't show up till 12:30 at night. When you see that kind of devotion, something's going on in these voters. They're hungry for someone to be their voice, and they're drawn to this person.
And what I loved about Donald Trump last night is he talked about the forgotten man and woman. And I thought that was a very powerful message, because I think for so many, you had the celebrities line up with Hillary Clinton, you had Obama, Michelle Obama alongside Hillary Clinton, but for Donald Trump, it was about the everyday American. And I thought that message of saying, I will be your voice and I will fight for you every day, and I am not part of Washington, I'm going to come in here and we're going to get things done. Governing, that idea of governing in Washington, something that we have not seen under President Obama.
You mentioned a moment ago about the big swings in the evangelical and Catholic vote, which was decisive. 81% of evangelicals turned out for Donald Trump. 52% of Catholics. He was 7 points up from Hillary Clinton, which that swing vote, the Catholic swing vote, even if it's that small, usually picks the victor.
Well, and it's very significant.
Why did they move?
Well, it's very significant for the Republican Party. I think the reason why they moved is that Donald Trump made a personal appeal to the Catholics. That interview that you had with him, I thought was incredible, an incredible moment for him to say, I want to talk to Catholic voters in America. Secondly, I think the WikiLeaks emails that showed that the Clinton campaign advisors were calling Catholics backwards. We're basically saying, look, we're going to plant a Catholic spring. Those are dangerous signs coming from the liberals. And I really think that looking at Hillary Clinton's extreme position on abortion was very troubling for many Catholics. And so I could see why there has been that shift. And that shift really impacts those states like Ohio, like Pennsylvania, like Florida, and Michigan. And I think that for Donald Trump, he really, I have to say, that Trump campaign advisory team, it was a powerful spiritual group of people who spent hours, and these are many professionals, both here and across the country, praying for this election and praying for Donald Trump. That is something I have not seen, I don't think, in any other election in my lifetime.
And the evangelical Jerry Falwell Jr. and the people he turned out, I mean, incredible numbers. Really.
There was passion.
And do you think it was the pro-life issue and the mandates coming from the HHS mandate in Obamacare?
I think it was,
those the
look,
galvanizing
Supreme Court.
forces?
The appointment of the Supreme Court is critical because we know that the Supreme Court and the federal judges, that is the last stand for religious liberties in our country. And so for, I'm a mother of 5, they go to Catholic school, our church is, the fact is that if we do not have protections, religious liberty protections in our country, and we have another liberal Supreme Court justice, it really would have had impacted our churches in a negative way.
I want to roll this for you. Early Wednesday morning, Donald Trump gave his victory speech and had this to say about the movement generated by his unlikely campaign.
Ours was not a campaign, but rather an incredible and great movement made up of millions of hardworking men and women who love their country and want a better, brighter future for themselves and for their family. It's a movement comprised of Americans from all races, religions, backgrounds, and beliefs who want and expect our government to serve the people, and serve the people it will.
Blacks and Latinos turned out in this election in higher numbers than for Mitt Romney. Why? The rap on this guy was that Trump would alienate everyone and it would be the least number of blacks and Latinos perhaps ever.
Well, I think for Donald Trump, he did a little bit better than Mitt Romney. I mean, Mitt Romney, in terms of the Latino vote, so Mitt Romney did 27%, Donald Trump ended up with 29%. That's not as good as I would like to see those numbers. We need to boost those numbers on the side of the Republican Party. But I do think, and in terms of the African-American vote, they just simply weren't enthusiastic for Hillary Clinton. So 87% voted for Barack Obama in 2012, 80% for Hillary Clinton this time around.
You just didn't have the numbers.
The turnout for the Democrats, the enthusiasm was simply not there for Hillary Clinton.
I want to play this, speaking of Hillary Clinton. On Wednesday morning, Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton offered a concession speech in New York.
This is painful, and it will be for a long time. But I want you to remember this. Our campaign was never about one person or even one election. I still believe in America, and I always will. And if you do, then we must accept this result and then look to the future. Donald Trump is going to be our president. We owe him an open mind and the chance to lead.
What cost her the election, in your opinion?
A non-educated working class, college-educated working class, there was a significant shift over to Donald Trump. I mean, you're talking 30 points in states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin.
And what were they reacting to? Why didn't it work?
They were reacting to the fact that jobs have left their communities, that businesses, manufacturing jobs have left their communities, and that they are the ones that are dissatisfied with the job that President Obama has done as president, and the fact that they're dissatisfied with the federal government. And so Donald Trump's most simple message of making America first, about the American worker, that just simply resonated. The fact that he's willing to take on and renegotiate trade deals, which is not necessarily what you would call a Republican idea.
No.
It sold to these individuals who their wages have not gone up, who have lost their jobs, who have lost companies in their communities, and it is a matter to bring companies back to America.
On Thursday, President Barack Obama met with President-elect Trump. It has to be a tough moment for Barack Obama. He's essentially meeting the exclamation point on his legacy.
Absolutely. It is.
But what does it represent to you?
This election and Donald Trump's victory represents the rejection of Obama and his policies and his imperial presidency. The fact that he was unable to work with Congress to push forward significant legislations, and his greatest accomplishment was Obamacare that is literally imploding before our eyes. Secondly, it was a rejection of Hillary Clinton's corruption. The fact is that she was still under FBI investigation on the Clinton Foundation front. Yeah. It just never ended for Hillary Clinton. And I think that factor of distrust really played strongly in this election. And the fact is that Donald Trump is saying, look, I'm flawed, I'm far from perfect, but I'm for you, the American worker.
Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House, acknowledged the great gift Donald Trump ended up being. He pulled up many candidates who were lagging. Now, before the election, we were hearing that Donald Trump would be a down-ballot drag. He would kill off the majorities in the House and Senate. What happened, and what's to become Paul Ryan?
Well, I'm hoping first that Paul Ryan stays the Speaker of the House. I believe that he brings so much substantial policy knowledge to the game. I think that he can find a natural ally with Donald Trump, and they can work together to push forward many of these legislative items like tax reform, like immigration reform, moving forward on how we're going to renegotiate trade deals, the Iran nuclear deal, how are we going to move forward on that. I think that there are so many potential areas of agreement amongst a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and Donald Trump. And I do believe Donald Trump will be a bipartisan president. I think he'll bring in Schumer and Pelosi and say, look, we're going to sit down here and cut a deal. This is how Donald Trump functions. And I think that is healthy for our government here in Washington, because it's got to start working again. It's got to start functioning.
I can work with Chuck. Mercedes, thank you for being here.
Always
you know what
pleasure.
I loved about it? Just watching the president there meet with Donald Trump. You were watching the peaceful transfer of power. That is the beauty and the hallmark of this system.
Absolutely.
Good or ill, whether you supported the guy before or the guy now, it's a beautiful system.
God bless America, clearly. I mean, I think he was looking down at us and saying, I'm not giving up on you.
Yeah, well, even his own advisors and people say, this was a miracle. We'll leave it there.